is you can change essentially in the diet world one of three things. You can change what you eat, when you eat, or how much you eat. And any of those three things works. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It could be all three of them. When research has been done with mice, rats, cats, dogs, monkeys, what they find is that limiting the time of eating is actually a better way of doing it than limiting what you eat.
Hello, guys. Welcome to the Fixed Blood Sugar webinar. How are all of you? It feels like it's been a long time, but it really hasn't. I think it's because I've been doing some fasting, and so it feels like it's been like a year. And guess what? Yesterday, I did not eat after 1:30, which I thought was pretty good. So I have been implementing ever since the webinar that we did a couple weeks ago. I know a bunch of you who have joined have been really implementing fasting. So I want to hear from you guys. We really talked a lot about it on the Healthy Heart webinar too. But I know a bunch of you are on both. So let us know how that's going, what you found. I just like to hear more about everyone's story. It's not the same for everyone. Fasting is different for everyone. And some people fast different times and all of that. So I'm excited to hear from you guys. Hello, Ryan Kelly. How are you, sir, from Valley Springs, South Dakota?
Oh, that's close by. Wonder if I know that guy.
Yeah, right? Hello, Dr.
Hey, good to see you.
Saunders.
Did you miss me?
Sure
Yes.
did.
Man, we've been on for like 15 minutes. Like, when is he coming? Jeez
Oh, speaking of
Louise.
which, I better go live on Facebook. Hello, guys. Hello. Wow, we already have 90 of you on, so that's awesome. It's probably been a while since the three of us have been on here together, so we are excited that you are here. Just going to let you know, this is recorded, so if you have to step away for a minute, don't worry. It will be posted on our YouTube channel. I probably get 10 to 15 emails every week wondering if they can see the replay, so it is recorded, which is awesome. And there are probably, I mean, we got to be getting close to 300 episodes of webinars that we have done on our YouTube channel, which is
Wow.
kind of crazy. 300. I mean, that's a lot of teaching, Dr. Saunders.
That's
Are you tired? You should be tired.
that's a lot of Dr. Saunders.
No, it's so good. We've loved it. It's been fun. And one of the things that I always say on these webinars is I feel like every single week I learn something new. And not only from Dr. Saunders, but from the questions that you guys ask. They say questions are the answers. And so when you guys ask a question, don't ever think that it's silly or strange. That's how we all learn. And if you're thinking it, someone on the webinar is probably thinking the same thing. So, all
That's
right.
such a good point. I totally agree that if you're wondering about something, somebody else is also wondering about it. You should ask.
Yes, agreed. I'm going to give you a quick disclaimer before we start, because otherwise I'm going to forget. Dr. Saunders is not your doctor. So before implementing anything that we talk about on this webinar, would you please consult your medical professional? We would appreciate it. Okay, here we go. I'm just going to see who else is on here. Oh, Eric is here.
I got a shout out. Hello, Dawson Grover from Coon Rapids. Old friend of mine, old pastor of mine from in
Wow.
Laverne. So good to see you, my friend.
Hey,
Wow.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Now
Very
in Coon
cool.
Rapids. I used to go to school in Coon Rapids, Minnesota. They were also like our arch rivals because I went to Blaine High School, Coon Rapids Junior High through Epiphany Catholic School. So long story, but good to see you, Dawson.
Wait, Joe, were you
Yeah,
Catholic?
I was. I grew up Catholic. Yeah. And then
How did I
in
miss that?
sixth grade, my mom thought, let's send Joe to the Catholic school because we don't want Joe to get in trouble with all the bad people in the public school. Then I go to the Catholic school, and that's where everyone sends the bad kids. I'm like, oh, mom, I don't think my mom knew how that actually worked out, but
I've heard that from somebody else too.
That is hilarious.
not bad. Just kids that need a little extra special attention. So no, it's all good. All good.
I could see you fitting in well there, Joe.
It took a little while, but being the new kid coming in, who's this guy? And I, was kind of shy, but it all worked out. Here I
You
am.
were
Like,
shy?
oh yeah, I was
Oh,
shy
that's
till
funny.
like middle of college.
Oh, that is funny. Okay,
Yeah,
that's Good. Very good. All right. Oh, Terry's back from Texas. David. Hello from York, Pennsylvania. Hello. Who else? Monty is back. Hi, Monty. How are you doing? Judy's back. Look at all these people have come back. We weren't as bad as we thought, Dr. Saunders. They're still coming back. Okay. Delbert is here.
Hey, you get what you pay for.
Catherine's here. Neil is here. Oh, okay. So before you hopped on, Dr. Saunders, I said yesterday I quit eating at 1:30. I fasted after 1:30 p.m., which, guys, I'm going to be honest. I think I did an 8-day fast once where that was back in the days when the master cleanse was around. Actually, it was probably after that, but I did that type of a fast. So I only drink that for 8 days. I'm telling you though, lately fasting is more difficult for me. So it was good for me to have to do a longer fast because I needed it to be a little bit more painful in order for my body to like reset. So, but Neil is on, he said he loves fasting. I feel so much better running on empty. First 12 hours are okay. From 12 to 18, I could eat the siding off of the side of my house. After that, no hunger. Started getting woozy at 3 days. And then I had something to eat and then started all over again. All right. All right. Okay, we're starting to get a lot of questions. So you know what I'm going to do before we do that? I want to dig into phase 3 because we have talked about phase 3 quite a bit. We talked about phase 1. We did an entire webinar just focused on phase 1 of the diabetes solution kit. And then we did phase 2. Today's phase 3. Now, if you are on phase 3, would you comment and let us know? This is kind of the goal phase, right? This is life after the hard work, I would say, maybe. I don't know. This is where you want to get to. So just kind of an overview of phase 1, really. We talk about eating low carb and getting your blood sugar numbers to under 100. 70 to 90 is the goal. Is that correct, Dr. Saunders?
Correct.
Okay. Phase 2, we talk a lot about fasting. We talk a lot about introducing some new foods, watching your carbs. You're allowed to double your carb intake on phase 2, which is going to seem like heaven at that point. You still got to be careful, but you're learning how your body kind of responds to those things and responds to fasting. You're still keeping your blood sugar numbers low. And phase 3 is when you move into the rest of your life, basically. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, is phase 3. We're going to really dig into that. I should be looking at the comments so that I know who actually is in phase 3. Well, maybe you can tell me, Joe, if you see something that comes through. If you have the diabetes solution kit, this, most of you do, but you can find this at, you know what is view? What if I want immersive view? What does that mean? I'm going to try it. Hold on. Oh, I remember now. I shouldn't have interrupted my talking, but we got to play for 1 second.
Hey!
It's so weird. It's so weird.
We should add everybody on this.
This is our panel.
All right, I'm going to try one more and then I'll be serious. There we go. That's a little better. Okay, now this reminds me of, what's that place? Pine Valley or something like that? They used to have a setup like this.
Joe, you're so little.
Kindergarten or something. Yeah.
Oh, I can't even show my book. All right, I got to change the view. Got to be serious now. Sorry, guys.
Off the rails.
Yep, that's what happens. Okay, so diabetes solution kit you can find at bartonwebinar.com, but this is what we talk about on most of our webinars. This is the plan to reverse type 2. This is for those of you who have decided, you know, I don't want to go the traditional route, or I'm getting frustrated with the side effects that I'm having from my diabetic medication, or maybe you just want to prevent getting type 2, which where are we at these days for type 2 people? How many people have prediabetes or type 2 at this point?
Almost 40% of the population. It's really, really common.
That's crazy. So the Barton team and Dr. Saunders put this together, and it's a 3-phase program. And so, like I said, we talked about phase 1 and phase 2. We're going to talk about phase 3 today. If you had this in front of you, pull it out. We're going to go to phase 3. If you don't, you can get it today. You can go to bartonwebinar.com and get a digital version of it right away for under $20. If you want the hard copy version, you're going to have to pay a little bit more, but you can have that shipped to you. So we're going to go to phase 3 in our book. Okay, it says $49.
Barely under $20. 1997. Why? Because that's a better marketing number. That's right.
Isn't that weird?
Right. Just tell them.
I get it.
Yep. Psychologically sounds a lot cheaper than $20, but
It does.
I mean, how many times you pay in 1997? 3 cents can add up thousands of times. Like you can buy like a steak dinner
These days. These days, people throw away pennies.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. All right, guys, here is phase 3. And what I like about our diabetes solution kit is it's kind of like a workbook. You get to fill in your information and it'll help you to kind of see where you've come from as well. So when you start, you're putting in your information about your blood glucose levels, and maybe you're going to put your weight in there. You're going to journal maybe about what you are eating. By the time you get to phase 3, you kind of have an idea of how to do all the things, right? And so the real goal of phase 3 is just to kind of renew your mind in what this is going to look like for the rest of your life, right? And how you're going to do this. And what I'd like to chat about a little bit, Dr. Saunders, in this, in the book, we talk about eating for life and we lay out some options for eating plans. And so I just want to get your feedback about some of these plans and where you think people should go in phase 3. So some of the options for eating when you are going to do this now for the rest of your life to keep your blood sugar numbers down are, we mentioned the keto diet, the Mediterranean diet, paleo, carnivore. I'm just reading these quick. I love this says the non-diet is intermittent fasting. So, what we're learning from Dr. Saunders kind of, I hate to say this, but it almost says if you fast, maybe food isn't as big of a deal as we thought it was. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. But anyway, I just want to get your feedback about some of those diets. What do you think? Where do you think someone with type 2 should land when they enter?
Okay. So the way we put it together is you can change essentially in the diet world one of 3 things. You can change what you eat, when you eat, or how much you eat. And any of those 3 things works. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It could be all 3 of them. When research has been done with mice, rats, cats, dogs, monkeys, what they find is that limiting the time of eating is actually a better way of doing it than limiting what you eat. So if you give somebody a really good diet and spread it out over 14 hours, so they eat from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., then that and it's really good food, and it's like perfect vegetables and fruits and nutritious kinds of things. Or you give somebody a 5-hour window of eating, and they can have all the junk food they want. They can live on ice cream and McDonald's and go to eat sloppy joes and go to Taco Bell. Then the person on the 5-hour window of eating will be healthier than the person on the 14-hour good food diet. So it's kind of weird that that's the way things are looking with the research, and everybody goes, well, but I can't recommend the junk food diet. But that's not the point. The point is that you can vary one of 3 things. You can vary what you eat, when you eat, or how much you eat. And you can do it so if you vary what you eat, you have to be really careful. If you're going to have a 14-hour window of eating from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., you're going to have to be really careful about what you eat, and you probably gain weight really easily. Whereas if you limit the amount of time that you eat, like to an 8-hour window, a lot of the research is done with 8-hour window of eating. So like 7 a.m. and 4 p.m., 2 meals a day, or 8 a.m. and 4 p.m., 7 a.m. and 3 p.m. That kind of thing is where the optimum is. So the other thing is, so what you eat, when you eat, and then how much. So how much is part of that. If you have a larger window of eating, then you're going to have to eat very small amounts. So that's where those 500 calorie diets come in, those or 1,200 calorie long-term diets come in. And so if you lower the calories enough, then you're not getting in enough calories to put on weight. And so even if you have a long window of eating, it's still going to work. So that's kind of the way we looked at it. So you have options. You can vary one of those, vary your diet in one of those three ways. And one of the things that's actually really important also is that you're using up that storage of glycogen in your cells, because you're going to store some. And if you've had a history of type 2, what that means is you're probably very efficient at storing energy. So you have to give your body time to use up that energy. And that means being very active. And that may mean on a daily basis, and not just your half hour, 3 days a week kind of exercise to get up muscle, but you may have to do more exercise. So that's another factor to consider in your long-term goals, your long-term plan.
I like this is good. And another thing that I think is important to talk about is stress reduction. You know, we talk about it a lot of these webinars. We talk about it in our solution kits as well, but that plays a big role. When you think of someone in the phase 3 part of this, where do you see them with managing their stress?
Oh, the stress. Well, in fact, it was kind of interesting. This morning, I had someone in the office, and she said, "Why do I have a diagnosis of anxiety disorder?" And I said, "Well, because it's not the disorder part. It's that you were dealing with a lot of anxiety." "Oh, you mean obsessing about what I eat all the time and worrying about whether I'm getting exercise, or worrying about whether I'm going to get cancer or not?" And I'm like, "Yeah, exactly." So the stress goes down when you have control. And the idea of phase 1 is to put you back in control. Phase 2 is where you're working out where your ideal place to be is. And then phase 3 is, I'm good. I can handle this. I know what I'm doing. And we've had people like Barbie on here that have said, you know what? We went to phase 3 and started a little overindulging, and went back to phase 1. We knew exactly what to do. No stress. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about what your blood sugar is. You don't have to worry about what your blood pressure is, or whether you're going to get a heart attack or not. It's just not an issue anymore. So the stress goes down when you're in control. And that's the idea of phase 3, is that you are in control.
I love it. I think it's good to kind of go through some of these things. So maybe if you're taking notes or you want to come back to this, think about yourself a little less stressed, you know, implementing some things to help you reduce stress in your life. Maybe you've now implemented some fasting. You go to bed at a consistent early time, hopefully by 10. If you've been paying attention in all these webinars, hopefully you're in bed by 10. You have a good exercise routine. You know what foods work well for you. Imagine yourself in this place. Your blood sugar numbers are where you want them to be. They're between 70 and 90 optimally, and you feel good. Imagine yourself there. Those of you who are just starting the diabetes solution kit, I think this is important to know that you can get there. And what changes for you at that point? What does your life then look like when all of these things have resolved? The things that were so difficult, they're now no longer there. You know, for me, I think that's important for me to visualize what will life be like. It helps me to set my goals when I'm starting phase 1, you know, or if I'm starting something new. It's so much easier to push through because you've seen yourself healthy and you know the life that you can live when you get there. And so I would just really encourage you guys to maybe even spend some time thinking through that. What does life look like once those things are now, you're now in phase 3 and you're not struggling with those things anymore? Okay, I think I better dig into some of these comments. Guys, if you want to put your questions into the Q&A, that would be awesome. A little bit easier for me to navigate through some of those. So I'll do my best to do these. I know that there were a bunch that came in. Gary said, how important is it to get your sugar levels below 100? I've been stuck at 112. I've lost weight. I'm 6 foot and I now weigh 154 pounds. I've lost 10 pounds since I started and I don't want to lose more weight.
No, 6 foot, 154. That puts you at a low body mass index. Okay, so if you're stuck at 112, there's a reason, and it may not just be insulin resistance. So at this point, you test, and you test the function of the pancreas. So you look at the C-peptide, the insulin, hemoglobin A1C, and glucose. And so you look at all those numbers, and they tell you where you are. And if they don't tell you where you are, then you may want to do a glucose tolerance test. It's 3 hours. They have you drink the glucose drink. It's syrup essentially, and then you test the blood sugar and the insulin, the glucose and insulin, every hour for 3 hours after that. And so a lot of, if they put in just glucose tolerance tests into the lab, it's usually done on pregnant women. So it's a pregnancy glucose tolerance test. That's not the one you want. You want the one that is with glucose and insulin every hour. And sometimes for some labs, I've had to write out glucose and insulin tolerance, and then the lab has to see insulin hour 1, insulin hour 2, insulin hour 3. You have to actually write out that to the lab so that they know, oh, we're doing this every hour for both glucose and insulin. It's not like what they usually do for pregnancy.
Okay. Rocio or Rocchio, in your opinion?
Rocio.
Okay, when is the best time to take lean ACV?
Okay, lean ACV is best taken, if you're, there's 2 different kinds. One is taken in the evening, one is taken in the morning. So I think the lean ACV is taken in the morning. And the reason for that is to sort of curb your appetite, help your digestion. And so it's best taken in the morning.
I'm back. I had to get a barking dog, guys. I'm sorry. Okay. I just saw the message that said that Joe was a little bit of a rebel. I could see that. You skipped school the last week of 9th grade? Okay, I'm not even going to read the rest of that. I don't need to know that about you. All right.
I apologize, but I need to hop off and get on to a phone call. So
okay.
Good to see you guys. Bye, everyone.
Bye, Joe.
Bye.
Bye, Joe.
All right, let me find one here. What causes neuropathy and how do we heal it?
Oh, good question. Okay, so neuropathy is the nerves are no longer working. And so it doesn't mean the nerves are dead. And that's the thing about neuropathy is you can have a non-functional nerve that's not dead. It's still there, it still lives, and it's just not working because it can't transmit an impulse from your toes all the way up to your back, because the nerve cell is actually in the spinal cord. It's way up in your back, and so the axon, the wire essentially for the nerve, has to go all the way down to your toe, and so that's why you feel it first in the toes. So the neuropathy is the nerves aren't working. So then the question is, why not? And there are several different things to consider during this. One is that glucose can't cross the blood-brain barrier, which includes nerves. So the nerve cells, which is the nerve, remember, is in your spinal cord, and you got to get glucose into there too, and that's part of the central nervous system. And so there's a blood-brain barrier there. So if you're not getting enough glucose into there, then the nerves just can't function. They don't have enough energy to function, and they're still there and they're okay, but they're just not functional because they don't have enough energy. And it's kind of ironic when you think about it. You know, it's like they're swimming in a sea of sugar, of glucose, and they're starving to death, and they need glucose. Why? It's because of that blood-brain barrier can't get it across there. And so what needs to happen is, first of all, to get your blood glucose under control and use up the excess glucose, but you also have to get hypoglycemia. And what that means is low blood sugar. You need to have your blood sugar between 70 and 90, and even getting down into the 60s is a good idea. Because what happens then is the brain, which includes the spinal cord, starts making more glucose transport proteins that grab onto the glucose and pull it in. So that and it's like 1,000 times a second. It's pulling sugar into the nerves. So then you get glucose in there. Okay, so that's one thing. Get it under control. Number two is we have a supplement called Nervala. There's two different types of things in there. One is alpha lipoic acid helps get rid of inflammation in the nerves. So getting rid of inflammation. Where does the inflammation come from? Well, when you have high blood sugar, you get more inflammation. You don't break down, you don't get rid of inflammation, the oxygen-free radicals very well. So alpha lipoic acid helps to get rid of oxygen-free radicals and lower inflammation. And that helps the nerves to function better. And all by itself, alpha lipoic acid has been studied to improve inflammation, improve nerve function. And then number two, it has benfotiamine. Benfotiamine is just a vitamin B1, but it's a special kind that's fat soluble. So remember, there's a blood-brain barrier. Thiamine can't get through the blood-brain barrier, but benfotiamine is fat soluble. It goes right through. And so it can get into the endothelial cells in the blood vessels and help them to function better. So it improves the function of the nerves. The two of them together are quite remarkable. And we've had a lot of people come on the program and say, yeah, I started the Nervala, and within a couple of weeks, my feeling came back. Now, some people have said, this is not working, it's making it worse. And the reason it's making it worse is because if your nerves are like dead, they're not functioning at all, and then they start functioning again, what first happens is you get tingling and pins and needles and burning, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's worse than the numbness. Well, that's temporary. You got to kind of push through that and allow it. Just kind of like if you sleep on your arm wrong at night and you wake up in the morning and your hand's all numb, and then it starts coming back and all that tingling and burning, and you're like, yeah, it's true. That's a really hard thing to deal with, but it really means that the nerve is starting to work again. That's a good sign. And so don't throw it away just because you're getting more tingling and burning. Because the numbness means it's not functioning at all. The tingling and burning means it's starting to function. So that's actually a good sign.
Awesome. And I posted the link to Barton. What did I say? Oh yeah, Barton Nutrition. And any of our supplements you can get for 25% off if you use code webinar25. Okay, so many good questions. I'm going to read this from Dawson. On December 27th, 2023, I was put in the hospital with a blood sugar count of 583. I was dehydrated and my kidneys were at 50%. 3 days later, they sent me home with blood sugar in the 220s. They had me on 25 units of insulin, slow release at night, 500 milligrams of metformin twice a day, and blood pressure meds to protect the liver. After a meeting with the dietitian, my blood sugar was 96. Fasting and low 100 2 hours after a meal. They wanted to lower my insulin by 2 units and added 500 milligrams of metformin to a total of 1,500 milligrams daily. They said to keep lowering insulin by 2 after 3 days of blood sugar being in the 100. I've been following the diabetes solution kit, but I've only taken 1 tablet of Synachroma. I saw in the book that I should take 2 of those in phase 1, so I added 1 Synachroma to the supplements. I am down to 19 units of insulin. I've stopped metformin completely because of its side effects, and I'm now dropping my blood pressure medication. My blood pressure has been in the low 130s to 125 daily. Any thoughts on that?
Wow. Okay. So one thing that wasn't tested that you should test us and have your doctor order the test. Do the C peptide test. I would do both insulin and C peptide. So insulin gives you an idea of how much your pancreas is making plus whatever you're injecting, what's there at the time. And the C peptide tells you just what your pancreas is making. So if your C peptide is 0, and your insulin level is 20 or whatever, then that means that all you're seeing is insulin from your injection, and that's all. That the C peptide 0 means your pancreas is not putting out any insulin at all. And that's the idea behind that, is to give you an idea of your actual function of the pancreas, because that determines whether you need insulin or not. Generally, if you've had a blood glucose of 500, then you probably aren't making very much insulin or any at all. But then there's the next level of testing. If you aren't making any insulin, to go to why. Ask the question, why is your pancreas not making insulin? So looking for autoimmune disease, or islet cell disease. So those are tests that can be done also to look for what's wrong with the pancreas? Why isn't it functioning?
To continue, he also said that my fasting blood sugar has been 79 on average over the last 3 days, and anywhere from 112 to 118 2 hours after a meal. How long do I stay on just 20 carbs a day before I move on to phase 2? Thank you for your help.
Okay, so before you move on to phase 2, you're doing great, by the way. That's amazing. And those are really good. You're keeping your numbers really in a good place. So those are all really good. But it's not like moving on to phase 2. It's, do I have type 1 or type 2 diabetes? So you're still in the discovery phase. You don't even know what's going on at this point. So the first step is to find out what's going on.
All right. I see that we have some questions about testing, and just looking for the names, guys. So I'm going to post the names of those tests that Dr. Saunders recommends in the chat, just so that you know they're coming. All right, more questions. Here's a question from Tom. For the past 2 days, I ate 2 small meals each day, a total of 500 to 600 calories each day. My fasting blood sugar has been around 100. These past 2 days, my fasting blood sugar was 114 and 118. Does this make any sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you for asking. So remember, the dawn effect is that you get more insulin resistance when the cortisol goes up in the morning. So your morning cortisol goes up. Everybody does. That's normal, perfectly normal. And then what also is happening is, because we were fasting for more and you're eating less, then your liver starts making more glucose. So now you have your liver pumping out glucose, and your that dawn effect, you're insulin resistant. So your blood glucose is a little higher. It's okay. It's not a problem.
And I always like to remind people that there have been people who have had stress in their lives, and that has increased their numbers as well. So always think about that too. Where is your stress at? That does impact your numbers, unfortunately. Okay. More questions. Harry says, once I've reached MMOL, what is that? MMOL of 90 or less, how long do I stay there before moving to stage 2?
Millimoles, 90 or less. Okay. How long? Well, if it's consistent over a couple of weeks, then that's pretty good. That would be a good reason to move on to phase 2. Now, when we talked about phase 2 before, we explained how it would be a good idea to have some way of monitoring. And man, when they came out with these continuous glucose monitors, it's life-changing for people who are on phase 2 with type 2, because now you can look at what you're eating and what you're exercising, what you're doing, and you can see exactly how it's affecting your blood glucose, like minute to minute. It's really amazing. So, so yeah, you could move on. If it's been a couple of weeks, you can move on to phase 2, get a CGM and start on that.
Okay, this is from Johnson, and I think we answered these last week also. What are the benefits of combining synochroma and berberine every day, as well as what are the benefits of combining synochroma and fiber greens?
Okay, so synochroma is just a supplement to make sure that you have what's needed to use your blood sugar properly. It does not fix your problem, unless we've had some people say it fixed their problem. Well, these are people who are probably deficient in chromium. If you had chromium deficiency, you actually could have type 2 diabetes just because of a chromium deficiency, and synochroma will resolve that completely because you're getting what your body needs to use sugar properly. So that's the idea of the supplement, is for your body to use sugar properly. It's really doing phase 1 where you get your blood sugar down. So then where does berberine fit into that? And could you take them together? Absolutely. So you have a supplement, the synochroma, is so that you can use blood sugar properly. And then you have an herb, berberine, which is essentially the same as metformin, that tells your body to use fat instead of sugar for energy. And that helps you to switch to fat burning more easily. So there's benefits to that too. So yeah, berberine or synochroma or both together. And then the other question was, what about the fiber greens? And because of the artificial sweetener in phase 1, I don't recommend the fiber greens. But when you move into phase 2, phase 3, and you're monitoring and looking at what you're going to, what you can add to your diet, you may find that it doesn't affect you at all, and you're okay with that. So, it's okay to take it unless you're on phase 1. Then don't even use fiber greens.
All right. Stoico says, what is your opinion on MLS laser therapy dealing with neuropathy?
Okay. The laser, the low level laser, remember what laser is. It's light, it's energy. So you're putting energy into the system, and there are certain lasers that are at a low level, and they're infrared, or not usually far infrared, but they penetrate through the skin, and so they put energy into the system, wherever they're using it for neuropathy. And the idea is to improve blood flow, to improve the ability for the nerve to turn on, and to use the glucose and oxygen to get to start working again. And so that can help. Essentially, you're adding heat, but there's another level of it, and that is there are certain proteins called chromophores that are sensitive to light, and especially these low level of infrared kind of type of light. And they turn on, and this is like mitochondrial energy production turns on because of the light. But if you don't have enough oxygen and glucose, and you're not getting good blood flow, it's really a temporary thing, and it's not a long-term solution, unless you're also doing like the Nervala and exercising and getting your blood glucose down to normal so that you don't have that blocked insulin resistance.
David had asked us to spell the glucose and insulin tests, and I posted that in the chat. He's wondering if you have any idea how much they cost.
No, I don't have any idea. You know what? They never tell me how much they cost. I order them, people do them, and no one ever tells me, gosh, that cost me $100. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right. Do you have any thoughts on Jardians?
Yeah. Jardiance increases the amount of insulin that your pancreas makes, and it causes more insulin resistance. Um, and you know what? It has some benefits, but I think the risks outweigh the benefits, so I avoid it. I don't use it.
Okay. This is a really good question. Beverly is kind of confused, a little dismayed about the number of supplements. Do you suggest we take all of them, or how do we choose among them? At the moment, I have Synachroma and turmeric. I'm pre-diabetic, A1C 6.1, but I have had high blood pressure for 35 years, and I'm on 4 kinds of meds for it. Recently, it went you again, possibly from pain of rotator cuff tear, but the doctor is worried. Anyway, what are your thoughts? And there's another question here. Someone saying, I saw an ad for another product to do this to help me with my diabetes. And what are your thoughts? And I have an idea what your thoughts are about a lot of supplements, but in general, what do you think?
If you think of supplements as food, and you look at them as like the Synachroma, essentially it's processed food. You're concentrating specific nutrients because why? Well, because it's a common deficiency. I've tested thousands of people. I test people all the time, and I have found that these are common deficiencies. So we added in these, and because number one, they're useful for lowering blood sugar and improving the metabolic function and allowing the metabolism, especially sugar metabolism, to function well. So that people who are doing the program can get good results. And that's the idea. The idea was not that, oh, I can pop this pill and my blood sugar is going to come down. I can continue my current lifestyle. No, it's going to require change. And so allowing yourself to take responsibility for change and say, okay, I am going to change my lifestyle because I don't want to deal with this. Synachroma can help you. So it's not that you have to take all these supplements to get better. That's not the point. The point is you can change your lifestyle to get better, and the supplements can be a help. So if you've measured your CRP is high, your sedimentation rate is high, you have a lot of inflammation, you have arthritis, and you go, gee, I need something for inflammation, then you can add turmeric to that. Turmeric's a great herb for lowering inflammation. If you have a lot of stress, you can add ashwagandha. And you can test for some of the nutrients, like you can do a nutrient test, organic acids test that looks at nutrients. There's various tests you can do now. You can order online micronutrient tests that can tell you which ones you're deficient in and whether you need anything or not. If you're working blindly, that's, Synachroma is essentially working blindly. These are the ones that are common deficiencies. You may not have those. You may not even need them. I don't know. So you can test and find out, or you can just say, well, it might help. It can't hurt. I might as well take it. And that's pretty much what everybody comes to. Except for those people who are saying, I want this. I want to continue my old lifestyle of eating anything I want at any time I want, and then take a pill, and that's supposed to fix my blood sugar. Don't think of it that way. That's entirely wrong.
All right. I'm just going to ask this question too, because Sherry had sent this in. She found a product called Glucoberry. And in the email, it says that there's been research that's uncovered the reason behind why people struggle with unbalanced blood sugar. And it's the excessive consumption of sugars and carbs like we thought, but instead from a little known gray sticky mucus that is clogging up our kidneys. And if you use this, then you can pee out the sugar and achieve healthy A1C levels. And any thoughts about that? Or are you familiar with the product?
Yeah. I don't think that's a thing. I mean, you could take Farxiga, for example, and pee out sugar, and it doesn't fix anything. It temporarily lowers your blood sugar, but it doesn't fix anything. So, you know, we already have something like that, and that's not what does it. It really, in some way, you have to do what is real, what's actually really going to. You have a cell, 100 trillion cells in your body, which are jam packed full of sugar, and they stop making insulin receptors, so you're insulin resistant, and they're filled up with sugar, so you got to use up the sugar, and you got to stop taking it in. And if you try any other thing, well, peeing it out, I guess, is one way, but the mucus that's clogging it, I don't even know about that.
Okay. Rocio, hello from Delaware. Just have another question about the Lily and apple cider vinegar. I would like to know, what are the ones I need to take at night? I'm just a little confused. Or to take the 3 pills in the morning.
It would be best to take the 3 pills in the morning. So think of it like food. These are things that are an aid to help your digestion. They help you not to be as hungry, and they're to improve the nutrition and nutrients that may be deficient. And it's best you assimilate food best in the morning. So just all 3 of them in the morning.
Rosalind is back. Hi, Dr. Saunders. Can you contract UTIs, kidney or liver problems from taking any of the supplements? Is it that you have too much, or is it the medication I'm on? I'm taking Toujeo Solar Max 50 units. Toujeo.
Yeah, that's insulin. Let's see. So you can get a urinary tract infection anytime for any reason or for no reason at all. It can happen. They happen anyway. So the question is can any of the medications or supplements affect that? Potentially, but probably not. There's a big deal with what is it, Farxiga, and all the ones that cause you to pee out extra glucose. They actually do increase urinary tract infections and cause infections around the bladder, which are really serious and really destructive. They're pretty bad. Fournier's gangrene is just nasty. It's pretty rare, but because they put sugar in the urine, then your urine's more likely to grow bacteria. So, but I don't see that you have any of those. So, no.
Okay. Let me see here. I know there are some other questions that I missed in here. So 1 second. Lynn had completed their first ever 72-hour water fast last week. It went very well. I've been intermittent fasting for a couple of years. I was able to bring down my cholesterol numbers naturally with the intermittent fasting lifestyle, which is awesome. Okay, I already did that one. Ginger says Nervala has helped to eliminate night cramps. I do not want to be without it.
Awesome. Oh yeah, night cramps. Yeah. Yeah, it improves circulation in a lot of things. So people get cramps at night, usually in their calves, because the muscles can't relax, and then the Nervala just improves the circulation so that things can relax better.
All right. Julie says, if I'm using now a continuous glucose monitor, but went off the diet during Christmas, should I go back on phase 1 detox cleanse to get my blood sugar down and get a proper start before adding single foods one at a time to see what more I can tolerate?
Yes. That's why we have phases. Okay, so phase 1 is to get to a point of normalcy. Okay, I'm normal, and then you start adding things in. If you start out abnormal, then we don't really know. There are things that you might tolerate well that can throw things off. So yes, go back to phase one, get normal, and then start into the dietary elimination diet.
All right. Rianne says for blood pressure, take cayenne pepper. Put as much as you can tolerate in a water bottle or add to coffee. Interesting.
Yes, I've heard of that. It dilates blood vessels. It's used for a lot of things for people who have clotting problems and or bleeding problems. It's actually pretty good.
Rianne also said, I am almost 51 hours into a 102-hour fast. After 36 hours, I finally got below 196. At 11 a.m., almost 48 hours today, it was 114. I just took my reading now and it's 88. Is that normal to take this long to get it under 100 and then jump that much overnight?
Yes, that's normal. Okay, so we think of things as on a level of one singular thing we do affects this thing. That's not the way reality is. The body system is super complex. And if you think of all of the incretins and insulin and glucagon, all the peptides, all the things that affect your blood sugar, it's like, how could we have hundreds of things that affect the blood sugar? Because this is important. This is how your body runs. If you don't have energy, what happens? Death. So this is really, really important. So if you're not eating, your body has to turn on a whole bunch of genes to start making sugar out of protein. They take protein. Literally, your liver takes protein and makes it into sugar. That's how important it is. So don't think that there's a one-to-one thing. I didn't eat, therefore my blood sugar should go down. And you have storage like you wouldn't believe. You have storage in your fat cells. You have storage in your muscle cells. You have storage in your liver. You have all this stuff stored that when you're not eating, all of a sudden it's going to be like, ooh, I can use up that. I can use up that. But it's a good news because after you use up all those old storage, it's kind of like the way I heard it. Another doctor explained it this way. You have like your basic storage in your kitchen, right? Your cupboard has a certain amount of flour and all the stuff that you generally use on a daily basis. But when you have a whole box of cans of beans, you don't put them in your cupboard in your kitchen, you put them out in the pantry or somewhere. And then you got all this, these big things of fish from Costco or whatever. And so you got your big chest freezer out in the garage and you're throwing stuff in the chest freezer. Okay, you use up the stuff in the kitchen and you go, oh man, I wonder what I have in that chest freezer. And you go out and you're like, oh, I got some fish in there. So you start using the stuff that's been there for years sometimes because you've used up the stuff in your kitchen. That's what your body's doing. There's a whole bunch there. It's all over the place. It's stored everywhere. This is important stuff. And it's taking it out of cold storage, long-term storage, which is really good because that's what makes you insulin sensitive. So that process that you're doing of using up the old stuff is essential, and it's really good because people who don't, then as soon as they go off phase one, they're right back into diabetes, and they're like, what the heck? Because they didn't use up all of the old storage so that they had space to put stuff when they started eating. Does that make sense?
Good. That's very good.
I like that analogy.
I do too. That's very good. Last question. Okay, Julie says, is the ashwagandha heart health supplement better to take than just a natural supplement of coenzyme Q10?
Better. It depends on the individual. You have to look at what you need. And the ashwagandha supplement with the CoQ10, that combination of things is for the combination of things that we discuss in the heart health book, okay, Healthy Heart book. What you want is decreasing stress and actually ashwagandha lowers the stress hormone level. So just as far as the hormones go. CoQ10 is needed, and people kind of stop making it, especially if you've had like cholesterol lowering medications or something like that. You could be deficient in that. And then so the nutrients in there are to dilate blood vessels, the beetroot extract. So there, the healthy heart supplement is really more of kind of a broad spectrum to cover the various things we discuss in the book. That's really what it's for. So if you say, well, I don't need the beetroot and the ashwagandha, I just want the CoQ10, yeah, then just get a CoQ10 supplement. That's not hard. Those are easy to get.
Okay. I think that's it for today.
Right.
Thank you.
All
Dr.
right.
Saunders, we'll see you tomorrow.
Hasta mañana.
All right, guys. So tomorrow we will be doing the Healthy Heart webinar. That is at 12 noon Central Time. And Dr. Saunders will be back here. If you haven't joined that, it's just like this, except we talk about heart health, you can join at bartonwebinar.com. There's a place to sign up, and free webinar. So we'd love to see you there. And if not, we'll see you again next week. Bring your questions as always. And thank you so much. Hope you guys enjoyed the webinar, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.